Hello, everyone. I see that everybody is logging on. We're going to give it about 3 minutes before we officially start, just to give everybody some time to come on. So we're just going to hang out for a little bit. Can everybody hear me? Great. So again, we're just going to hang out for until about 6:03, and then we'll begin the presentation. I was muted. But I think we can begin. It's about 6:03. So we shall begin the presentation. Welcome, everyone. My name is Janina Navarro. I am the main point of contact for the City of Cupertino's below market rate program. Joining me is Matt Warner. He is the president of Rise Housing Solutions. And we want to thank you for taking a portion of your evening and spending it with us as we go over the City of Cupertino's below market rate program during this informational workshop. Just a few housekeeping items. We will have a time at the end for questions and answers. And because of that, we do ask that you reserve your questions until the end. As you might find as we're going through the slides and through the workshop and through all the information that we have available, you may see that your questions may be answered. If they're not answered, we do ask that you do hold them until the end, and we will have a time slotted just for questions and answers. We also do want to inform everybody that this presentation is being recorded, and following this meeting, probably by about tomorrow at 10 a.m., the presentation, the slide deck, will be made available, and also the recording will be made available on our website at www.risehousing.com under any one of the Cupertino program tabs, so whether it's rental or ownership. For your convenience, I am also going to be leaving a link to the BMR program manual, which is where a majority of all of this information comes from. So let me do that now. And that will be in the chat. So that is the link to the BMR program manual. And with all of that said, we are good to begin. I'm going to share my screen. Beautiful. So again, this is the below market rates informational workshop for the city of Cupertino. We are Rise Housing, and we will be presenting it tonight. Again, this Zoom is being recorded, and the recording will be made available following the meeting, usually about tomorrow, 10 a.m. And again, it can be found online at our website, www.risehousing.com, and it can be found in either one of the Cupertino program tabs, so whether it's rental or ownership. This is what we will be going over tonight. So our agenda will be going over an overview of who Rise Housing Solutions is and what we do. We'll also be going over the BMR rental program. We'll be going over the BMR ownership program. We'll dive into the priority points, the lottery process, how all of that works and what that looks like. We'll also be answering the most pressing question of the night, which is how to join the 2024 waitlist for the rental and ownership program for the city of Cupertino. And again, we have slotted some time for Q&A. Rise Housing Solutions, who we are. It is me and my colleague Matt, and we partner with local jurisdictions in the local Bay Area in order to advance affordable housing goals. So we basically manage the BMR program in a lot of jurisdictions. Some of the jurisdictions include Novato, Daly City, Alameda, Sonoma, and it's also 777 Hamilton, which is specifically for teacher housing in Menlo Park. All of that information can also be found at our website, which again is www.risehousing.com. And so now we'll go into the rental portion of the program. Our rental inventory is made up of 9 different buildings. In total, there's 142 rental units, and all of that is made up in 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. It says that we have an average turnover of about 15 to 25 times per year. I want to say the last 2 years we've been on like the higher end of that. So we have had anywhere from about 25 to 30 turnovers this year and also last year. So that's just if you were wondering how many times or how many opportunities you could potentially be looking for if you were to join the rental waitlist, this is what you would be getting information regarding several vacancies throughout the year. Another question that we have received over the years is regarding new developments. Now, currently for the pipeline of 2024, we don't have any that will be managed directly by Rise Housing or that will be part of this BMR program. However, we have been committed with the city in order to notify those who are on our current wait list and who have signed up for our mailing list, which is the email list, how you found out about this informational workshop. We have been committed with the city that they'll let us know, and so we can let those on the wait list know, and also those on the mailing list. You can also check out the city's website, and I've left the link up here, right here. Oops, sorry. And this basically just lets you know of any new developments that are happening in the city and basically what stage they're at. And so that's also how you can get any updates regarding any of the new developments. But again, if anything does come online, we will be informing the wait list, and we'll also be informing those who have signed up on our mailing list through risehousing.com. Okay, this is for the BMR rental program again. So these are the income limits. These income limits are updated annually, specifically for the Santa Clara County, but also for the entire state. HCD, which is the Department of Housing and Community Development for the state, updates these annually, and so that's where we get our income limits from, and that's basically what sets the stage for the program. So there are 3 different income brackets. We just touch on 2 during this informational workshop because there aren't that many. There's only about 2 units in the program that are extremely low income. And those very rarely came up. But if you do have questions regarding those 2 units, please do feel free to email me directly at cupertino@risehousing.com, and I can give you the income limits for those units. But as you can see here on the screen, it is dependent upon household size. So if you are a household of 4, if you are earning anything under $89,200 a year, you would be considered very low income in the county of Santa Clara. Again, that same family of 4, if you guys are earning anything less than $137,100 per year, you guys would be considered low income. Either one of these income brackets would qualify for the program. And we do have units that are based on those 2 different income brackets. So sometimes you may see an announcement come out for a unit, a 2-bedroom unit in the same building that is looking for a very low income household. And so we'll, during that announcement, we'll also send out that it is a very low income. And then let's say the bedroom size is 3. So if you are a household size of 3 or over, you would look for your household size accordingly. So if you are 3 people in your household, you would not be able to earn more than $80,300 per year. And now for that same announcement, we may send out for a low income. And so again, that same household of 3 can't earn more than $123,400. Please let me know if that makes sense. And then we'll just keep moving along. So these are the rental amounts varying between the 2 different income brackets, and then also depending on the bedroom size. So as you can see, again, we're going back to the scenario of a 2-bedroom. If you are a very low income household and the announcement is for a very low income unit, your rent would be about $1,800 a year. And then if we send out the announcement for that same 2-bedroom, but it's for a low income household, then your rent would be about $2,200. I do want to make note that this is not income-based housing. So we wouldn't take your income and base the rent off of that. It is a standard that is across all of the Cupertino BMR program. So it is based off of the state's income. So whatever the state determines the income is, we take a percentage of that, and that's how we base like this standard of what this what the income would be or what the rents would be for the units. Okay. Asset limit. So there is an asset limit for each household, and it can't exceed whatever the gross income is allowed for the household size. You may be asking, what does that mean? Let's take a household of 4. I'm going to go back to the slide right here with the income limits. This household of 4, if you are applying for a very low income unit, you cannot have more than $89,200 in assets. And then again, if we're sending out that same announcement for a low income unit, your households cannot have more than $137,100 in assets. And that's for that same household of 4. So depending on what your household size is, you would just adjust it accordingly. Now you may be asking, what is counted as an asset? It is anything aside from pension or anything of that nature. So 401k, IRAs, CalPERS. If your company has their own kind of pension retirement setup, we don't count any of that. What we do count is a checking and savings account, stocks. Right now, what's really big is like Robinhood, things of that nature we would count. Mutual funds, any kind of CDs, money market accounts, all of that we do count as an asset. But if it's included in your retirement, we will not count that as an asset. Cars are not included as part of an asset. I have been asked that before, so in case somebody was wondering, cars are not included as part of as part of assets. So if that was your question, that's the answer. We do also want to let everybody know that in order to be part of the program, no members of the household can currently own a home or be on title of any property, and that is anywhere. So even in the United States, if you have a family property or a vacation property that's outside of the United States, that will still be counted against you, and you will not be considered eligible for the program. Also, current BMR tenants, if you are currently participating in the program, you are not able to apply for the 2024 BMR waitlist. You can apply for the ownership waitlist, but you cannot apply for the rental waitlist. So some households of two, they may want to get into a bigger unit if they're currently renting a 1-bedroom. Unfortunately, you are not able to do that. If you do have any questions, I do ask that you reach out to me directly. Again, our email is cupertino@risehousing.com. And then we can kind of dive deeper into that. But pretty much you're not able to apply for the rental waitlist if you want to get a bigger unit. We shall continue on to the purchase program. So in the program, we do have a total of 119 BMR homes. It is a mix of condos, townhomes, single family homes, and they range anywhere from 1 to 4 bedroom units. This slide does say that there's an average turnover of 1 to 2 times per year. Yet last year we did have we had more homes come up for sale. It was between 3 and 4. And so this year we're trending to have 2 to 3 come up for sale. So that just kind of lets you know what the stock is that is available for this program. What you may ask, what are the eligibility requirements? So it is income. There is an income limit on the home. And because we're just dealing with a household of 4, we're going to go ahead and just stay with this. So there are 2 income limits for the BMR purchase program. There's medium, which is basically saying that you earn the average amount according to Santa Clara County. So you're within that bubble of 100% of what the area income is. That is exactly what you're making. So for this household of 4, $181,300 is the average for Santa Clara County. And then we also have moderate income, which basically means you're making 20% over what is the average income of the area. So 120%, and that would make that same family of 4, their income limit would be $217,550. With the asset limit, it is a little bit different than with the rental program. So it's not based on what the income is. It is based on whatever the purchase price of the home is. So it will either be $100,000 or 30% of the BMR purchase price. For example, we recently had a home come up for sale that was $516,143. This is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. And so what the asset limit for that particular home would be is $154,843. So if your household just so happens to have $160,000 in the bank, unfortunately, you would not qualify for this home. But if your household has anything under $154,000, you would be eligible for this home. Again, I'm going to leave this slide in case people are asking what would be counted as an asset. Again, we don't count anything that is in your pension. I know a lot of people, what they do is they save up and they put money into their pension in order to save up for a house. And that you are able to do that in this program. However, let's say in your savings account, you have $20,000 and then in your pension, you have $200,000. We would count the $20,000 as part of your assets and not the $200,000 that's inside of your retirement. So I hope that helps you guys figure out if you would be eligible for this program. There is a 5% minimum cash requirement as a down payment on this home. And we do need to be able to see that in your bank account. Now, 3% of these funds can come or should come from the buyer. 2% can come from gifts. I put right here that the pricing will vary, but it is a minimum of about $12,500 that's needed in order to qualify. I'm going to give you a real life example based on this home that I'm talking about, the home that's $516,143. Let's say you have $15,484 and those are your own funds. And let's say mom or uncle or somebody in the family wants to gift you some money because, yay, you're buying your first home. They would be able to give you $10,323 of their money and include that as part of the down payment. So in total, the down payment for this home, this 3-bedroom, 3-bath home that's going for $516,143, the total down payment would be $25,807. Now, from your own funds, again, you're bringing in $15,484, and then mom or dad or whoever is helping you out is gifting you $10,323. So that's how we would break down the down payment of any kind of particular home. So if you're looking to buy a home, those numbers are good, just so that way you should know that you inside of your bank, we do look in order to make sure that you have at least 3% of what the home's value is inside of your account. Now, in order to qualify for this program, you do have to be a first-time home buyer. All adult applicants on the property must be first-time home buyers. And what that basically means is that you have not owned a home within the last 3 years, meaning you haven't been on title or anything, or if you just haven't owned a home, period. So either one of those two would be considered a first-time home buyer. We do make an exception for those who were homeowners prior to a divorce or have recently become widowed. So within the last 3 years, if there was a divorce in the family, or if you have become widowed, we would make an exception for you and you would be considered a first-time home buyer. But typically the definition for a first-time home buyer is that they have not owned any kind of real estate. And again, this is not just for the United States. This is anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. You have not owned any property within the last 3 years. And also, if you just haven't owned any properties in general. Now we're going to go into priority points and what the lottery process looks like after you've applied for, or while you've applied for the 2024 waitlist, and then also what the lottery process is once all applications are submitted and we're ranking everybody. So the city of Cupertino does have 4 priority points that you can earn in total. You can earn 1 point for being a Cupertino resident. You do have to live inside of Cupertino, so it can't be like a border like one corner of your house is in San Jose and then the other corner of your house is in Cupertino, that would not consider you to be eligible. You do have to live inside of Cupertino. So for example, if we look up your home in Google Maps and it's listed as San Jose, that would not qualify. But if we look in Google Maps and your home does come up as a Cupertino address, then that would qualify you. Another thing is you can earn up to 2 priority points if you work inside of the city of Cupertino. Again, it does have to be inside of the city of Cupertino. It can't be any bordering cities. And then you do earn an additional point if you are a public employee working inside of Cupertino. What is a public employee? It is any kind of city employees, police, fire department, the post office, a school district employee, all jobs within that nature, that would be considered a public employee. Recently, the question, especially with this whole shelter in place and people now working with remotely, and since that has, it's been increasingly, we've seen that a lot. The question has come up, if you live in Cupertino and you're working from your home office inside of Cupertino, would that count as a point of that you're working in Cupertino? Well, if you would be required to, at any point in time, to go back into the office, no, unfortunately, that would not qualify as you working in Cupertino. However, if you can get a letter from your employer basically stating that you are a full-time remote employee and that you live in Cupertino, that does qualify you as working in Cupertino. And I hope that clarifies that question for you. This is kind of going over the lottery process and how exactly we would run the lottery for the waitlist. So those who were on the waitlist in 2023, they would receive priority over anybody who is newly applying for the 2024 waitlist. They do have to reapply. So if you applied in 2022, you forgot to apply in 2023, you would be considered a new applicant for 2024, whether it's the rental or the purchase. There's also a scenario that has come up where somebody in 2021 applied for both the BMR purchase and the rental program. And then in 2022, they only applied for the BMR rental program. Now, when they're going to apply for the 2023 waitlist, they're asking if they can receive the same point for, or it's the same preference because they were originally on the list in 2021. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to. You would be considered a new applicant for the purchase program, but you would be considered a repeat applicant for the rental program, and vice versa. So even if your name was on a list, on both lists in prior years, and then in the new year, unfortunately, you forgot to apply for one of the waitlist, you would be considered a new applicant if you have decided to apply for the waitlist this year. Applicants can apply for both waitlists. So if you're interested in both the rental and the purchase program, you are more than welcome to apply for both waitlists. And actually, we encourage it just because it's always good to be on the waitlist. And then again, just going over that, applicants who reapply from prior years, they will take priority over any applicants who apply this year who are in the same preference point bracket. So somebody who has 4 preference points that is a new applicant would go below somebody who is reapplying who has 4 preference points below. However, if you are a new applicant that's applying with 4 preference points and you are a repeat applicant that comes in and is reapplying for the 2024 waitlist, you would go below the 4 point. And that's because we do rank within categories. So we rank everybody in 4 points, and then 3 points, and then the 2 point, 1 point, and then 0 point category. And so you would receive your lottery ranking number based on where you fall at in the waitlist. So if you have 4 points, you would expect a higher waitlist number than somebody who has 2 points, etc. And this is kind of going over the process that I just talked about. So I did want to just read it out of the waitlist or the BMR program manual itself. So essentially what it says is anyone who wishes to be included on the waitlist must apply each year within the timeframe that is set in order to apply for the waitlist, including those who were on the waitlist in previous years. Each waitlist applicant will be separated into subgroups based on priority points. So if you have 4 points, you'll be separated from the 3 points, you'll be separated from the 2 points, and you'll be separated from the 1 points, 0 points, etc. Those who are reapplying for the position on the waitlist, they will maintain their current position from the previous year. If not, they would receive a more favorable waitlist number depending on where they're ranked. And just for where you can read it at in the BMR program manual, it would be located on page 3 of 18 in section 2.5 where it says BMR applicant waitlist. And the link to the BMR program manual should be in the chat. And also all applicants will be emailed the results of the application specifying if they've been approved or denied. And if you're approved, you will receive your lottery ranking number by the end of December. We usually do it a little bit before December, but in case all else fails, end of December would be when you would receive your lottery ranking number for the 2024 waitlist. And that's for either rental or the ownership program. You will be disqualified if you falsify any kind of documents or information, or if you submit multiple applications. I do want to clarify about if you submit false information. Let's say while you're applying for the 2024 waitlist, your household is making an average income of about $50,000. Now, over the course of the year, you have received a raise. And now that's no longer the case. You're no longer making $50,000 a year. You're making about $70,000 a year. That does not count as falsifying information. What would count as falsifying information is if you are selected for a unit and you submit a document such as fake pay stubs or any kind of false documents that aren't real documents. So like a Social Security award letter, or if you're falsifying taxes or anything, that does disqualify you from the program. Another thing that would disqualify you is, let's say mom and dad, they're applying for the program. Mom submits an application and then dad submits the application in order to see who could get a better lottery number. That would disqualify you from the program. So we do ask that everybody only submits one application per household. So if you guys are thinking about splitting up the house, so for example, mom and dad get a place and then the son gets in place, but if the son wants to first get a place with mom and dad, we ask that you would just combine the household and do a household of 3 rather than separating it and seeing which one the son would fall into a more favorable position. I hope that makes sense. But essentially what we're looking for is we're looking to give everybody the same opportunity. So it wouldn't be fair if a household who has 3 people would get a more favorable position than somebody who only has 1 person in their household. And, you know, the people that have 3 people in their household would fill out an application 3 times versus the 1. So we do ask that everybody keeps a 1 application per household. Thanks for that spiel. this is the most pressing question: how to join the 2024 waitlist. The application period will open on October 1st. It is a Sunday, but it will be open October 1st, and then it goes through the whole month of October. So it will close October 31st, 2024 at 5 p.m. There are multiple ways to apply to the waitlist. You can either ask for a paper application. We can mail one to you and you can mail it back to us. You can also apply via email. Again, our email is cupertino@risehousing.com. You can also apply online, which is the way that we recommend, but whichever way works for you guys is awesome. Online at risehousing.com. What we do is we put a big old banner at the very top of the webpage, and it says, apply here for the BMR program. And so you would just click there, and then the link to the applications would be there. Again, there are two separate applications. So there's the rental application and the ownership application. Again, we do encourage you to apply for both applications, but I do want to note that there are two separate applications. So just FYI. This is our contact information on the screen. We're located in Walnut Creek. Again, our email address is cupertino@risehousing.com. If I have gone over any information and you have any extra questions, or you want to ask something but you don't want to ask it in the Q&A, you're more than welcome to email me. I'm very responsive to emails. And then also our phone number is 415-301-5448. And now we get into the portion of the webinar where everybody's excited for the Q&A. So I'll start reading the questions. I do see that Matt has answered some of the questions, and so I'll go over some of the answered questions as well, but I'll go over the open questions for right now. When it says, can you explain again if the limits are being within that threshold, or did you say that the limit is over the median for both renting and buying? So you do have to be under income. So let me just pull that up again. Sorry. So these are the income limits for the purchase program. The median, which is 100% AMI, and then the moderate. So you would just check according to what is your household limit size. So if your household is a size of 4, you couldn't make over 181,300. And then if you are moderate income, you couldn't make over 217,550. Now this is for the ownership program. If you wanted for the rental program, that same household size of 4, you couldn't make over 89,200 for a very low income, and then you also couldn't make over 137,000 for the low income. There is no aforementioned link in the chat regarding the slide titled lottery. Let me grab that. I'm going to copy it and so I included the link for the BMR program manual inside of the chat if anybody wants to look at that. 5% down payment requirement, but have the upper limit. I'm not sure that I really understand that question. But there is a 5% down payment requirement. Let me go to that slide. So this is the slide regarding the down payment requirement. So 3% do have to be from your own funds. 2% can come from gift funds. So there isn't, I guess the asset limit would be your limit as to what you can have in your bank account. So I'm going to go over this real-time sale that we have going on, which is we have a 3-bedroom home that came up for sale, which is 516,143. Now, for this home, the maximum that you can have in your assets, which again, assets are anything that is not retirement, 401k, IRA, anything like that. So it is simply like liquid cash that you can at any time go to the bank and pull money out. The maximum that you can have in that would be 154,843, of which 15,484 does have to be your own funds. And then 10,323 can be from gift funds. So the most you can have in your account would be 154,000. And then the least you can have account, or the less money that the minimum money that you can have in your account would be 15,484. I hope that answers that question. Somebody said, I am adjacent to De Anza College, and even though I signed up for 777 Hamilton before it was completed as a teacher, I never heard back. Are there any other teacher housing opportunities? Not at this time, unfortunately. I did not buy any property in the last 3 years. Then you would be eligible for the program. Somebody asked, what if throughout the waiting process, the household size increases due to births? How is this taken into consideration? This is a great question. So your household size would increase. I'm going to go to the slide just for argument's sake. I'm going to go to the BMR ownership slide. So let's say when you first sign up for the program, you are a household size of 3. And then you have another baby or you become pregnant, you would just kind of let us know that your family is increasing. We would either ask for a doctor's note with verification of pregnancy, or we wouldn't require a birth certificate, but if you just let us know when the baby is born, then we would bump you up into the household size of 4, and we would just update your application. Now, if during the process of applying for a home, the baby is born, and so we would no longer qualify you at this 163,150. We would qualify you at the next income bracket. So we go according to household size, but that is a great question, and I hope that answered it. Somebody asked, do we pay the same property taxes as other similar non-BMR homes? No. That's also a great question. The county reaches out to us yearly, and we send them a list of all the BMR homes and what they were sold for and when they were sold, and they adjust the income or the taxes based on that. So it's always good. Somebody asked, if I own a mobile home, would the mobile home be considered as my first home? That is a good question. I'll come back to that question.
The answer is yes. It is considered home ownership. Yeah.
So, excuse me. It would be considered your first home. That's a good question. Somebody said, is the income based on 2022 W-2s? Say that 3 times fast. No, it is not. We do base it off of current income. So when we're asking you to apply for either a property or a rental unit, we would ask for, let's say it's a rental property, we would ask for your taxes. We would also ask for your W-2, but then we would also ask for 2 months of your current income, and that's what we would base it off of. We do ask for W-2s just to make sure that it matches up with what's on your taxes, but for the most part, we do just go off of current income. It's a good question. Somebody put part-time faculty, and I'm going to assume this is based on the preference points. So let me go back to that slide. So the priority points. It is a public employee would be considered anybody who is earning wages. So if you work 10 hours, but you are receiving a paycheck every single 2 weeks or every month from the city of Cupertino, you would be considered a public employee, or whether it's the police department, fire, post office, you do have to be earning wages though. So you cannot be volunteering somewhere and have that count as being a public employee. Somebody said, how long must you be employed by Cupertino as a public employee to qualify for the 4th priority point? For example, 6 months, 1 year, or as soon as hired? That's a great question. If you are currently filling out the application, let's say today is October 1st, and you have applied for the city of Cupertino or the fire department or any public department agency, and you are waiting to hear back whether you have received a position or not received a position, you would not qualify for that point. However, if on November 1st, you hear back from the city and you get your offer letter and now you're like, yay, I'm a city employee, you would qualify for the preference point. So you would just let us know. And then at any time we can re-rank you within the wait list. Somebody said, I think I know who this is. Currently we are BMR tenants and we were disqualified in July, but our term is ending November 1st. Are we still eligible to apply for both rental and home ownership program? Yes, and please do. The second question was, when applying for the program as a 2-person family, one is employed and the other is unemployed, should I apply as 1-size household or 2-size household? That's a great question. You would apply as a 2-person household because there are 2 people in your household. So we would base the income off of 2 people versus just 1. Okay, the next one says, how about downsizing the apartments? For example, I am reaching my senior age and live by myself. I like to move to an independent senior housing or a studio with elevators in community in Cupertino. Homa, I asked that you reach out to me directly and then we could talk more about that offline. But it is good to know about your situation. So I do ask that you just reach out to me directly. You have my contact information, but if not, it's cupertino@risehousing.com. Somebody else asked, for example, my physical working address is in the city of Santa Clara. However, my employer's physical address is in Cupertino. How would you rate my points for priority for affordable rental housing? That is a good question. We go off of where you're physically working. So if you are physically working in the city of Santa Clara, then you would be considered a city of Santa Clara employee, or you would be working in the city of Santa Clara and not in Cupertino. Somebody asks, if we were on the wait list for 3 years in a row, will we have a higher priority point than someone who has reapplied for 2 years? That is a good question. I'm going to go to this slide, the lottery process. Depending on where you're at. So if you are somebody who has 3 preference points and you've been reapplying for 3 years in a row, you would rank higher than somebody who has 2 preference points who has reapplied for 2 years in a row. However, if you and said person reapply or apply initially, no, that's a bad example. Sorry. Okay. You technically would, because you have been on the wait list for 3 years in a row and that second person applied later than you. So anybody who is reapplying for the wait list would take priority over anybody who hasn't been on the wait list before or who hasn't been on the wait list as long. But that person that is reapplying for 2 years, they would take preference over somebody who has never applied for the waitlist before. That is a good question. Thank you. Somebody asked, I work for a family in Cupertino as a nanny. I was paid in cash. What document would I need to say that I work in Cupertino? We would accept a letter from the family. You would be considered self-employed, so we would need your taxes in order to qualify for the program. This is another good question. Does my credit score matter for affordable rental housing? It does for the purchase program, not for the rental program. When we're qualifying applicants for the rental program, we don't take into account the credit score. When you are applying for the purchase program, your credit score is taken into account. And let me actually pull up what it is, because it does go off of FICO, and it's based off of the 3 credit bureaus. So this is listed in section 4.1.2 of the BMR program manual. Again, the link is in the chat. All applicants and co-applicants must have a minimum middle income. So from all 3 credit bureaus, FICO credit score of 660. We do verify the credit score during the time of application. So let's say you're working on your credit and you apply, but your credit isn't that great. We'd still encourage you to apply for the waitlist. Now, if an opportunity does come up where a home becomes available and you apply for the home and now your credit score is at 660, that's great. If it's not at 660, we would not consider you for that property. You would still be able to stay on the waitlist at your same ranking position. However, you wouldn't qualify for that home in particular. Somebody asked how many 4-point applicants applied for BMR home ownership last year. That is a good question. It varies every time that we have a home, because we do have townhomes, condos, and single family homes. Some people are on the wait list and they're waiting for a single family home. Some people are waiting for townhomes. Some people are waiting for condos. Our condos do come up a little bit more frequently, so I can't give you an average, but what I can say is every application process is different. So sometimes we don't have anybody that applies. Sometimes we do have people to apply. And if we do come across a scenario where people don't apply, then we just go into a next group. So we do announcements like the top 50 or the top 100 on the wait list. I hope that answers your question. Somebody said, if I reach the end of the wait list for ownership, but pass on housing options 3 times, am I removed from the list? Will I still be eligible for reapplication priority bonus in the following year? You would be eligible to apply for the waitlist next year, and you would also be eligible to apply with your same priority points. Now, you are allowed 3 times to deny a unit. After you've denied a unit 3 times, or denied units, so 3 different units, you're able to deny them 3 times. After that, let's say you were number 100, you would be put to the end of the line pretty much. And so anybody after you would have a better opportunity to own a home, since you decided you did not want to. Somebody said, need to know the low end rent for one, must meet minimum AMI is my understanding. I'm not sure I understand this question, but what I will do is I will go to, this page, the income limits for the rental program. So we don't have a minimum income for the program. Some of the properties do have a minimum income, which could be like 2.5 times the rent. 2.5 times the rent. And so they would qualify you. So you would qualify for the BMR program, but then the property itself does go through their own application process. And so most of the time it's 2.5 times the rent. And then again, because what I'm assuming that you're asking is like the lower end of the rent. Let's say you're a household of one, right? A very low income unit, the most you can make is 62,450. Now, for that one bedroom, very low income, unfortunately, we don't have any studios in the program, but for that one bedroom, very low income, the rent would be about 1,600. So again, we don't base the rent off of income, your personal income. We base it off of the state's income. So it wouldn't be based off of like your personal income. So let's say you're a household one, you're making $20,000. Unfortunately, we wouldn't qualify you based on that. We would go off of what the state income is, which is for this, the rent would be about 1,600 for a one bedroom. Hope that answers your question. Somebody asked, can I have 2 options for both single family homes and a townhome? So this goes into whatever becomes available. So if somebody, let's say we have 2 homes for sale and the same top 50 are picked in order to apply for the unit. So if you, I guess in that scenario, you would have the option to choose between a single family home and a townhome. But when you're applying for the waitlist, you wouldn't be able to specify in your application, I'm only looking for a townhome or I'm only looking for a single family home. It's whatever becomes available in the program. Somebody asked, you have many units on hand for rent. If nobody moves out in 10 years, then we won't have a chance in 10 years. I'm going to go back. Ooh, sorry. I'm going to go back to this slide. We do have an average turnover about 15 to 25 units per year, and this is in the rental program. For the ownership program, we have about 1 to 2 every year. So yes, with the ownership program, it is a little more strict. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a little more, there's not as many as opportunities, but in the rental program, there is quite a few opportunities to come by. So yes. Somebody asked, for rental program, do they allow pets? I believe some properties do allow pets and there's like a pet deposit, but you would need to ask that individual property when you're being selected for a unit. And that is the end of the questions. Unless somebody else has one. Oh, I got another one. Somebody said, for the home ownership program, do we need to renew every year? If so, when our income limit is over the BMR limit, do we get disqualified from the program? So this is an excellent question, and thank you for asking it. There, in the BMR rental program, we do what's called a recertification, an annual recertification, and that's just basically to qualify you every year to make sure that you still qualify for the program. So we would still ask for the same documents. Again, we would go over pay stubs, taxes, W-2s, bank statements, and that's an every year thing. Now, for the purchase program, we do not have that requirement. It's once you qualify for the program, you're in a home, the sky's the limit. What is a requirement of the program is that you do own or occupy the home. So at any time, if you decide, hey, our family is growing, or if you decide, I just want a bigger place, you wouldn't be able to rent out your home at any time. You would need to sell the home back into the program, back into the waitlist, and then you would go and find a bigger home if that is what you chose. However, if you decide to live out the rest of your life in one of the BMR homes, we do not ask you for a recertification. We do what's called an annual monitoring, and that's basically where we do verify that you still live in the property, and that does go out every year. what we don't ask for any kind of financials though, or any kind of pay stubs or anything of that nature. We just basically ask for like a PG&E bill or your ID, something just verifying that you do still live at the property. I received another question that says, if I'm both the rental and ownership wait list, and if I deny opportunities 3 times on one of that, no, they are 2 separate. So the rental and the ownership are completely separate. So if you deny a unit 3 times in the rental unit, in the rental wait list, that doesn't affect anything with the ownership. Somebody asked, are the ranking count all the priority groups or each group has their ranking? The way this would go is we, when we're doing the lottery, we rank everybody into subgroups. So the 4 priority points are in one group, the 3 priority points are in another group, and then so on and so forth. So let's say we have 10 people who apply and have 4 priority points. They would get ranked numbers 1 through 10, and then those who have 3 priority points would then be ranked 11 through 40, and so on and so forth. So then the 2 priority points would take 31 through so on and so forth. And so that's how the lottery ranking process works. Somebody asked, the units behind Cupertino Food Bank are rental units. I believe you're talking about Vista Village. I'm not entirely sure if you are, but yes, they are rental units. And I don't see any other questions. Another one. Are the rental units leased month to month or in fixed chunks in 12 months, 18, 24, etc.? That is a good question. So for the BMR program, it is a requirement that when you initially go into the program or when you initially get approved into the program, you do have to sign a 12-month lease. Now, after that initial 12-month lease, it's kind of up to the property. We do have some properties that do month to month. We have some properties that do 12 months. We don't have any properties that do 18 or 24. 12 is about average. But again, we do have some that do like month to month and some that do 12 months. So I hope that answers your question. Somebody asked, does the 3% down payment have to come from the applicant's checking account or can it be placed on credit? It does have to come from liquid assets. So checking, savings, the money market, things of that nature. I don't believe that you can use a credit card when Matt.
No, yeah, yeah. It needs to be an actual asset, some money in the bank. You can't access credit for that.
Thank you. So that answers that question. Somebody asked, what are the average prices of the homes available in the ownership program or the typical range of prices? This is a good question. What I've seen over the last, when I say 2 years, has been anywhere from like mid 400,000s to like low 500,000s. We do have some homes that are in the program that have sold at like 300,000, low 400,000. So I would say that's the range, about high 300,000s to about mid 500,000s. And I received another question. When would we need to show verification of the 3% down payment in checking account? At the start of the application or when a home becomes available? When a home becomes available, that's when you would need to show verification of the 3% down payment in liquid funds. And I don't have any more questions in the Q&A. I received one. How long can I live in affordable housing rental unit? Is there limitations? We don't have any limitations as long as you qualify for the program. Okay. So it is 7:05. I'm gonna let everybody get back to their evening. We want to thank you guys so much for joining us during this presentation for the City of Cupertino's below market rate program. Again, if you do have any questions, I ask that you reach out to us. I'm going to put up our contact information. This is our mailing address, 1990 North California Boulevard. Our email address is cupertino@risehousing.com. You can also reach out to us via phone at 415-301-5448. Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if there were any questions that weren't answered, please feel free to reach out to us at cupertino@risehousing.com. Thank you so much and enjoy your evening. Goodbye.